Computapes, Word, video number 8, using the tab stop. The tab stop is created when you push the tab key above the cap locks on your keyboard. Now, use this to align several lines of text to the same marker on the ruler. And of course, there are many ways to align text to a specific marker on the ruler. However, it is the only way to make the middle of several lines of text line up to the same ruler marker that you indicate. So let's take a look. The tab stop is paragraph specific, which means it will only affect the paragraph that the cursor is in at the moment you click the tab stop. Now, let us say that we are going to put a marker exactly at the number 4, and let us imagine that this paragraph is the one where we want each line of the paragraph to line up right exactly at the number 4. Now again, I don't want the edges of the paragraph lining up at the number 4. That would be easy. I would just have to use the indent tool from the previous video. What I need to do is to be able to take random positions of the lines, like for example this position on this line, and that position on that line, and this position on this line, and I need to have these things stay, and I need to have all the other text bumped over, lined up to the number 4. That's where the tab stop comes in. Watch as I demonstrate. All you have to do is move the mouse pointer to the marker on the ruler where you want things to line up and click once. Notice it looks like a little L or a 90-degree angle just showed up exactly where I clicked. And notice the cursor was sitting in this particular paragraph at the moment I clicked into the ruler to form the left tab letter L. Now, if I click on the first line next to the second word and I push the tab key, notice everything on the second line that was to the right of the cursor got bumped over to the number 4. Now, if I click the cursor to a different position on the next line and hit the tab key, notice the second line also lines up exactly to the number 4. In fact, on the third line, I can even click after the first word, which is a different position than the other 2 lines, and then I hit the tab key again, and then notice even the third line bumps over the text to line up exactly where the tab stop is. Now, once again, you must know that this is only specific to the paragraph where the cursor was in at the moment I clicked the tab stop at the number 4. Watch again. If I click on the 4th line and push tab, it bumps over all of the text to the right, lined up perfectly with this number 4. So the main point is, even though the other lines are not lined up on the left, and they start pushing the tab over at a different point, they all line up here at the tab stop. And this was a function left over from the old days of typewriting. Now, once again, the tab stop is paragraph specific, which means we did not set the tab stop for this very first paragraph here, and I'm going to prove it to you. If you did not set the tab stop for another paragraph, it means when you click the cursor anywhere in that paragraph, you will not see on the ruler any tab stops because I did not set up the tab stop for this paragraph. If I then hit the tab key, the computer will create a standardized space greater than the space bar on the keyboard, but less than a full tab stop. And that means that these individual tab spaces behave the same as the space on the space bar, just larger. For example, if I hit the backspace, I'm now getting rid of the spaces on the space bar. However, if I continue to hit the backspace, I'm now getting rid of the tab spaces that were created by the default tab length. Once again, This paragraph, where I now click the cursor, has a 4-inch tab stop for the left tab. That means that any line in this paragraph that I click the cursor in and push tab will line up on that marker. And again, this only applies to this paragraph because that's where the cursor was at the moment I clicked the marker. If I move the cursor to another paragraph and hit the tab key, all it's going to do is create blank spaces of a standard size. When I hit backspace, I'm getting rid of the blank spaces, and this is similar to the blank spaces that are created by the keyboard spacebar. If you hit backspace, you get rid of those spaces, and if you keep hitting backspace, you get rid of the tab spaces that were created. To remove the tab stop, you have to open the window that controls the tab. Simply move the mouse to the little letter L that was created and double-click on it. That opens the little tabs window. Now, once the tabs window opened, not only can you click Clear All, but you can set a default position for the unit of measure for each tab, or each tab key that you press. For example, if you make the unit of measure 1.5 inches and click OK, what does it mean? Well, it totally messed up this paragraph, so I'm going to undo that. Okay, I'm going to double click here. Oops, and I'm going to click Clear All, and OK. Now this paragraph has no tab stops at all. Now, if I double click just to bring, not only will I click Clear to remove the one that I put, but for example, I want to make the default tab stop, which means the unit of measure, which is the length of one tab key, 1.5 inches, click OK. Now, the cursor was here. That means that whenever I hit tab, it will now be 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. If in this paragraph, if I click here and I hit tab, it's 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. This measurement of 1 unit is 1.5 inches each time I hit the tab key. Question, will that be true in this paragraph? No. Oh, actually, yes. Because what I did was I set the default length for each individual tab key that I push on the line.